Game 1, Meteor fell down and killed the dinosaurs that are EDG, but in Game 2, are they actually facing extinction or can they come back? That's what I want to know, Clement, because in Game 1, EDG did not look great.
No, they didn't, and I think a large part is because they actually just don't have their main shot caller on the team anymore. Haro, this is the first time we've seen him in a very, very long time, and those first two early picks onto the Lee Sin really set EDG's entire game plan so far behind.
Yeah, they weren't really able to execute on anything. You know, you have the early game scaling, you're kind of set up around that Swain winning the top lane, getting the ganks to set him ahead. Yep. That didn't happen. The mid lane, you have Zoe versus LeBlanc. If you don't have enough damage to one-shot her, I mean, you still have pressure, but there's so much more pressure you can put out. That didn't happen either. In the bot lane, iBoy's build, I feel like sort of sank that one by itself.
Yeah, we're still playing on patch 9.4. So Papa Smithy put out a post yesterday explaining like the 9.5 evolve, which is you get Storm Razors, you get the Dorans, and you get the pickaxe. Then you get it. That's not true on this patch because Storm Razors was not buffed. We saw actually the iBoy get his evolve very, very late into the game, just noticing, wait a minute, why don't I have the wave clear here? So small mistakes on that side. Team cohesion not really there with Haro. They are going to bring in Clearlove to right the ship.
The question I have though was, is that going to be enough? Because I feel like BLG played a really good game. It was super like Korean style, which we don't see in the LPL a lot, and is a lot slower than most of our usual games. But they had an eco, they let her scale up, they had tanks that were made to make space for her. They let them do that. They had a jungler who just enabled the early game. 2-0-1 at that start had the GA. Meteor just pulled a lot of weight for the team, and through that they were able to win. I mean, it's an MVP performance, but more importantly, the entire team looked great. Meteor setting them up in the early game, 71.4% KP. He did not stop.
Yeah, I think a lot of the early plays were really what gave him the MVP. The first 2 kills onto Haro gave them the bot side, gave them the Baron shortly afterwards as well. So he's really been on point, and what I love about him is that he's doing it with the entire team's vision backing him up. The first Ocean Drake that they secured was a ward snuck in there by ADD. They see the Lee Sin, instantly you take away the Ocean Drake. Next time around when you're going for the blue buff, you know, Haro is thinking, okay, we lost the blue, but it's okay, I'm going to go for my Gromp. Guess what? Meteor is still there waiting for him.
Well, and it's a fun fact about BLG's carries, actually, is that they have some of the highest wards place stats. Actually, I believe it's #1 for ADD, Kuro, and Jinjiao out of any AD carry, top laner, and mid in the LPL. And that's what allows them to make those plays. That's what allows them to set up, have those heads-up vision like you were pointing out. So they're relying on that a lot. Consequently, honestly, Mini's warding stats aren't great, but they don't need to be when you have everyone providing vision.
Now, what we've seen from BLG is that most of their lanes don't interact with their jungles that much. They play very defensive. They're about scaling and getting to that 5v5 team fight. They were allowed to play with that game plan. And I think EDG really has to match them in that sort of a play style. I don't think their lanes and jungle have enough pressure to really break open one of these lanes. And that's honestly how BLG has lost most of their games. If you go back and you watch their JD Gaming series, if you watch their OMG series, it has been the solo lanes being outplayed by their counterparts, which gave which brought them the losses. But this team is a different team now. They're much more mature. They can cover for each other. Meteor, for one, has grown up a lot. So it's going to be very difficult to completely destroy BLG and dismantle their game plan simply in the laning phase. I think you have to be looking ahead. I think you have to look for the 5v5 and match them there as well.
Well, and they're bringing in Papa Clearlove to try and solve that one. And I think Clearlove, I like to describe him as the Demacian standard, because not only because literally all he does some ganks is throw down the flag, but he is the leader. He might not get a whole lot done. He might only do 1.7k damage on a Jarvan game, but he will look good. He will make the team look so much better around him. And that's the magic EDG are hoping he can bring in this second game of the series. The bans, as you can see, still going towards that Rek'Sai ban, but adding in the Lissandra LeBlanc. That wasn't the Talon, but I really wanted it to be. Instead, BLG going to take the Zoe first.
And for Scout, that's a very clear signal to either go for the Syndra. We've seen a lot of that, or for the Rise. I personally think the Syndra is his preferred option in this matchup. Jace could also do a good deal of damage to the Zoe, but it's much more, it's pretty unreliable, I would say, considered to the Syndra in that terms. But Jace, of course, a great champion, something that BLG actually banned in Game 1. Now they have the option to punish the solo lane still.
Yeah, we've seen the Jace be a lot more successful here in the LPL in the top lane and more often picked there, but it is a flex pick, which is very strong. Of course, they're going to pick up the Tahm Kench again for Meiko. His performance Game 1 was very good. I feel like he was just let down by the conditions around him, so this time they need to clean that up. BLG giving Meteor one of his power picks, that early skirmisher in Olaf.
Yeah, so Olaf, a great bottom side ganker, very good into the Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench has trouble moving away from the Olaf. You can't really crowd control him either. And EDG, they're setting themselves up for a very strong poke composition. So once again, they're going to be playing on the tempo game. Now, it's quite different from what I envisioned. I thought EDG would probably have to match in some form to BLG and try to play them in the team fights. But EDG are saying, you know what? We're on the red side. We're going to counterpick both their solo laners. We're going to have this late game scaling insurance in the Ezreal as well. We're going to pretty much go on the same route we did for Game 1.
But that route in the pick ban was kind of what lost them the game last time, that drafting, because they went for the counter. They ended up with a composition that they weren't able to execute on properly. And now BLG banning away the Zac.
I know why they're banning that away from. They're thinking about Karsa, not Clearlove when they ban that.
They're like, we've seen what this can do. Ning and now Karsa, we can't risk it. Clearlove might be able to hit that one.
I really like the idea of banning away Zac, because one of the things about Zac that's so deadly against Neeko is that you cannot shape shift out of the stretching strikes. If you get hit by the stretching strikes, it will be the real one, and the clones do not trade sides with you.
Yeah, it's so powerful in teamfights as well. If you're able to get into the back onto that Neeko, she is just gone. She's into the middle of your team, and there's not a whole lot they can do about it. Now EDG looks like, I really want to. I want to see both of these.
Please
just lock it.
This is one of Clearlove's most famous champions, and he's finally locked it in.
Look at that.
0% play rate in the LPL so far, but we saw what Tarzan could do on this champion. You have great one-shot potential. You can come in from any angles. There's a lot of good targets here. Both the Zoe and the Neeko are very afraid of Evelynn.
Very squishy champions with relatively low mobility, if they really have any. So Evelynn able to get so many good assassination attempts. You just need the warding coverage to make sure that you're going to not get spotted out by control ward. Now BLG might be caught out a little off guard against this, but they're going towards a similar composition as last game, picking up the Alistar, and it looks like they're going to finish it off with the Scion once again.
There's no surprises here. If you're playing the Neeko, you have to go for this team composition. The question now for EDG is, which solo lane do you actually try to punish? Ooh, and EDG going for an Ornn. This is quite unique. Now, we know Ornn was buffed in the upcoming 9.6 patch, but once again, this is 9.4. None of the changes have really hit. Ornn is not considered that strong of a laning champion. However, he does provide that front line for EDG. So EDG, they are spreading their options a little bit. They're saying, you know what? Well, at least we have some of a front line to play around if it does go to the 5v5.
I'm a little bit worried here, Clement. Hence those weird noises. I think.
Okay.
I was. In case you were wondering,
yes,
I'm not just having problems on the desk, but I'm having a little bit of a problem with this pick because we have not seen it be successful, like you said. We've seen it played in the support position unsuccessfully. We've seen it played in the top lane unsuccessfully because it's gotten nerf after nerf until its laning prowess was kind of gutted. So now into the Scion, which wants to scale heavily. I don't know if the Ornn is the best
I
pick.
actually like it. It will not punish the Scion in lane, but the reason you go for this pick is because you have a lot of tempo components in your team composition. You want to have a fallback option, and I think Scion that scales, everyone gets a free item. You get a free item, you get a free item, everyone gets a free item. That's actually a pretty good playstyle against BLG, who's not going to push the pace.
Well, once it gets to that late game, though, who's in the driver's seat? Because you've got Zoe and Neeko who scale really well. You can get a lot of picks in the later stages of the gaming, and if Neeko is able to live, that's just the end of the game for pretty much any team comp.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I really like the Ornn pick because Ornn is one of those picks that does have easy access into the back line. The first proc of Call of the Forge God, you can't stop that, and it's going to come from behind your composition. So you actually have a very good chance of disrupting Meiko, and it also is kind of a counter-engage mechanism. You can look at BLG, they don't have a lot of straight-up engage. Ornn can take the blow coming in from the Scion, and the rest of your team can then play the poke game. So it really does fill a lot of functions. I love it as frontline. I love it as late-game insurance.
See if they can poke their way to a Game 2 victory, or if BLG will take it 2-0 in Game number 2, BLG EDG.
敌军还有30秒到达战场，碾碎。
I love that poster.
I love how it just evolved into a cacophony of sound. They're just like, I don't remember when to say Jinjiao. Let's just throw it somewhere. It's one of the most fun things about the crowds. You never know where they're going to end up. But EDG going for a very aggressive positioning here on the bottom side jungle of BLG.
It usually ends with LGD. This time, not so. Like, this is a must-win game for Edward Gaming. They have a very tough schedule ahead of them, and they're sitting at 8th place currently in the standings. If they drop this one, stakes are super high. Very good chance that they do not make playoffs. You have to remember, the lowest Edward Gaming has ever been in the regular split is 2nd place. That's how consistent they have been, and they don't want to lose that.
I don't know if they're going to be getting that one this split, Clement, but staying in the playoffs, I think, is a better goal. We're going to see Clearlove starting here onto the Raptors, actually. BLG, no, I apologize. Started red buff into the Raptors.
Yes. So I really like this move. Usually the Olafs do like to start on their blue side. It helps with their clear speed. So EDG read this. They go for an early level 1 invade. They get a lot of Kleptomancy procs, and they also start a vertical jungle.
A lot of damage coming in into the mid lane here from Scout. We're saying this was a potentially good matchup. You do have to land your abilities, but I trust Scout to do it. You know, former SKT sub, was training under FLICKR, came down to China, and I believe Season 5. So, mechanically gifted, to say the very least. And he's doing pretty well in this lane early on.
Taking a look at Clearlove's runes on the Evelynn, it is pretty much what we see typically. It's all about the burst potential. So you have the magic penetration from sudden impact, you have the electrocute being brought on, and you also have that absolute focus. One shot is the name of the game, and he's looking for targets to do it. I think he will be able to set up a 3-3 versus 2-2 scenario, which is, you know, it's very typical in the LPL. It's one of the strongest lane dives earlier on, but the question is, can the Evelynn actually get the crowd control to make that work?
Interesting as well. This is the first time Clearlove has played this pick ever since the Evelynn rework. So, gonna see if he still has his old tricks and his old proficiency on the champion. He was able to steal by the Krugs, but not gonna be going for the gank. We were looking at the top lane just a second ago, but maybe an engage here in the bottom lane. Good devour by Meiko, but top lane, actually we just saw a trade going really well for Ray.
Yeah, Ray actually, he was willing to hold back. He knew the Olaf was around his section of the map, so he said, you know what, I'm not going to go up and contest this CS and lose my HP. I'm going to stay beneath my tower. He's keeping to himself, basically. And if you're playing a vertical jungle, kind of have to play that way.
Clearlove looking to farm up here towards level 6. Once you get that, get the invisibility, get the gank power of the ultimate. And that's going to be so strong for him if he's able to get there in time, but... Meteor, I think Meteor has a lot cut out for him, because if he's able to get some ganks off before Clearlove can affect the map, that puts BLG in a great position. But if he's not, Alt Evelynn can do a lot in a gank.
Yeah, no, Evelynn's one of those picks that has been tearing up solo queue for a long time. Ever since the rune changes allowed you to get more ability power in your build without sacrificing your rune choice, Evelynn actually has a very, very good win rate in solo queue. The problem just is that in professional, her first 6 levels are too painful to deal with. Pro teams know how to punish that, they can ward that, and you're basically saying that we're going to have no impact early on in the lanes. We're going to have no say whatsoever. However, what I love about EDG and their draft currently...
Oh,
this is going to be a lot of damage.
That was... Okay.
Never mind.
It didn't land, but that was...
It was scary.
It was really good from Kuro, too.
Yeah, he definitely spotted out the Evelynn. Remember, she doesn't get her invisibility until level 6. And going on with my little rant about Evelynn, what I really like EDG doing with that vertical jungle is you pretty much equalize the laning deficit, the ganking deficit from Evelynn. It's like, if we're doing vertical jungle, I know where you are at all times. You know where I am, so it doesn't even matter if I can't gank.
When you were talking about the laning deficit before you talked about the ganking deficit, and we definitely have one for both teams here. The top lane going a lot better for BLG, but the mid lane, there is a huge CS differential between Kuro and Scout. Scout is just absolutely bullying out Kuro here, and he's having a lot of trouble getting anything done. So both of these lanes potential targets for the junglers, pre or post 6 for Meteor, but basically only post 6 for Clearlove.
And this is rough. Clearlove not spotting out that ward is going to give Meteor the okay to just go straight into this matchup.
There's the knockup. Again, the Devour, but top lane is a little bit more action-packed. Ray flashes away, but the flash in from Meteor as well. Gets the slow with the Chilling Smite. He's going to use Call of the Force Gods to try and get out of it. Should be able to get the knockup onto at least one. It's a lot of damage to Meteor, but he still picks up the first blood.
Yeah, it's a questionable flash direction for Ray, but he was alone onto the top side. There's no one that was going to be there to help him, and this all did stem from that control ward in towards the top. BLG, they got the same ward last time as well.
Oh, this is dirty. A great ward from the bot lane of BLG. Catches out Clearlove, forces the flash, forces the W and the heal from Meiko.
And the slogan for BLG is that wards save lives. They really have done a great job with the vision, like you were talking about. They're Korean solo laners, putting down the most wards compared to anyone else in the LPL. And you can see them reaping the rewards for that. Meteor is playing with full vision. Now, they do have to avoid this situation. If iBoy ticks 6, which he should be very close to, he does have the level lead compared to Jinjiao. He could find that true shot barrage.
iBoy's farming for it right now. See if it happens.
Not going to get it.
No. He might go for the base ult. No, it's way too slow at this point. All right, back to full health. Meteor has hit level 6. Clearlove still struggling because of that failed bot lane attempt at the Krugs. But once he hits it, he could be looking for a gank. Mid lane would be a good opportunity because Kuro has been constantly shoved and is currently But he's going to go back, get up his first back. Scout, of course, already got his serrated Dirk, so even more damage onto the Zoe. She's under a ton of pressure.
Yeah, this is when the Jace can really start to hammer home the leads in the matchup. Serrated Dirk versus the Sork shoes. Even with the dancing shoes, all Jace needs to do is land those auto attacks, get into range to snowball that matchup even further, and Clearlove could come in fairly easily just with the finishing touches and the execution damage on her ultimate. So we're going to see that being struck up already, and we should expect EDG to start using this power spike.
It's level 6, and they're already going in. ADD forced to flash. He's going to be stuck here trying to get the knockup on a Scout, not able to land it. He's going to ult down towards his mid laner and jungle and drift his way to safety.
That was really well done by ADD. He found the gap between the two persons and floated away. I honestly felt like he already had used his ultimate in that exchange, but I guess that was just the W animation fooling the members of EDG.
Yep, doing a great job there, and now Clearlove still looking for a gank into this mid lane. Still invisible. Kuro suspects something is off, though. He's going to be just fine, but Clearlove's staying, but in the middle of lane.
So playing as the Evelynn, you are spotted out if you're close enough, and also if you tag someone with the with your E, the allure, then there will be a directional mark that shows up on the champion. Like, they will know which angle that you're coming in on.
So Clearlove going to get spotted out on that mid lane gank. But now he's going to be going for the Infernal Drake. A good first start here for EDG, especially with their heavy damage composition. It's down to 2,000, and BLG don't look like they're in a position to threaten. 1,000 HP left. This should be the secure for EDG. No skill going to come out.
Yeah, really strong play from EDG. They actually had Ray here preemptively, just in case BLG wanted to contest. And playing off the strength of Scout again, going for pretty much the same type of game plan that they had in Game 1. The question really is right now, can they snowball that advantage with Scout and Clearlove into a sizable gold lead? Currently, they're still in the deficit from those early plays.
I want to point out the top line itemization a little bit here because it's still a little bit weird coming out from ADD, but I love his itemization back from when he went the 3 rejuve bead into potion on Shen. I was like, this man knows what's up. And now he's going for the redemption first on the top lane Scion, apparently using it already for the wave clear. It's given him a 30 CS lead. So I mean, I guess I can't knock it till I try it.
Yeah, the redemption wave clear is a pretty smart idea. You do have a base amount of damage that you deal to the wave no matter what. I believe it's 250 true damage base to the wave. But honestly, in this matchup, he should be able to wave clear anyway. It's the first time we're going to see this build pop up in the LPL. I think it's pretty interesting as a concept. I can see it being very good in the laning phase, but the question is, when those 80 carries are finally scaled up, when they're sitting around with the 2 items, do you still have that tankiness with just the redemption to face up to the likes of iBoy?
Well, last game he didn't seem to have any problems, despite his only items being the redemption, the
I think this is going to, this is going to have a lot of ramifications later on when you're trying to play front to back, and your tank is holding a redemption.
I mean, he's able to get the tank itemization fast enough. I feel like it won't send him too far behind, especially with the lead he has early in lane. I mean, he's not being threatened by the damage from Ray at this point unless he sticks in an extended trade. And as Scion, you don't really have to do that. You have the knock-up, you have the Roar of the Slayer to slow them down. So you have a lot of ways to avoid actually full-on fighting.
Redemption is a very good item in terms of this cost efficiency, but let's look at this play first. ADD gonna dodge out.
He's been using these ults pretty well to dodge the ganks, but that's all he's been able to use them for so far. Now EDG looking to pick up the Rift Herald. They know the top laner's been forced out at the very least. Redemption's still available for him. BLG will use this opportunity to take out the plates. They're starting to ping onto the Rift Herald now. There's nothing they're going to be able to do. Meteor just going to try and farm out the jungle as compensation.
Yeah, I really wonder where they're going to be throwing this Herald down because they are currently behind in terms of the tower trade. iBoy did not move towards the top side. That's the difference between this lane swap and the previous lane swap. It was a full-on map side exchange from EDG in game 1, but this time it's only about the Herald. 3 people showing up for BLG in the bottom side is going to give the clear go-ahead to start the poke machine from EDG.
This mid lane tower is looking mighty weak. Already 3 turret platings. The Rift Herald's still there, and there's nothing BLG can do to stop it. They're not going to be able to hit the eye just yet, so they'll still get some autos. ADD getting caught out saves them a little bit of time so they can clear out the mid lane. Oh, he has the redemption, though. He's going to try and use it, but all he's going to do is heal his zombie self. So BLG losing their top laner and very nearly losing the mid lane tower, but at the very least, EDG pick up 3 turret platings and a kill.
Oh, that was such a smart move from EDG, showing that they have some of that map macro moves of their own. They predicted the movement from ADD from on the top side and also got the beneficial trade in terms of the mid lane. Just stepping down on the Herald first, knowing that they had the poke composition, and BLG were slow to defend. So EDG win all across the map on that one single play.
They're looking a lot better than last game. Last game, they were having problems at this point in the game. They were down in gold, they were down in objectives, but this time, at the very least, they're up in the ladder. Gold is slightly in favor of BLG, but nothing too substantial. And now if they're able to get this bot lane tower off the poke of Scout, should be a free way to open up the mid lane for them.
Sleepy Trouble Bubble does land. There is a cleanse. Doesn't need to use it. And they just walk away. That sequence was really EDG's bread and butter play. We see that so often from Edward Gaming. They win bottom lane super hard, they snowball it into the Drake, and then they immediately move with their Abyssal Voyage to the top side, lock down Herald again, and then just play off of that map control.
Mini goes in, tries to get the knockup, lands it onto 2. That's a Sleepy Trouble Bubble onto iBoy, but it's not going to be followed up just yet. BLG not going to be able to find the engage.
I think EDG is just the best team to play around Tom Kench. Like, Meiko has so much experience on this champion. They set up global so well. It previously was Shen for Meiko, another great global champion that Meiko learned how to play and how to manipulate for the lane, for the map advantages. He's doing it again once on the Tom.
That said, I think for this game so far, BLG has done a great job of keeping their bottom lane safe. They aren't really worrying about Jinjiao. He's scaling up. He's gotten his Blade of the Ruin King already, working towards that Ginsu's Rage Blade. And this was their win condition last game. Despite the fact that their mid lane was doing poorly, that lead has almost equalized, just about 16 CS. So BLG have fallen behind in objectives. Yes, they've fallen slightly behind in gold, but that's not the game. However, if they keep seeding these dragons, things are going to look rough.
Definitely is the case for Edward Gaming, for BLG, excuse me. I think this time around, EDG has just brought so many more answers to BLG's front and back team fight. Once that Meiko was locked down, you pretty much knew without even thinking that the last two picks were going to be the same. Alistar, Sion locked in for BLG on the blue side, and they just want to play front to back. They have that advantage in terms of their frontline tankiness, but this time around, EDG, they have more avenues to attack. They can actually go backward with Clearlove, and he has a decent potential to one-shot the Meiko, or at the very least, take her out of the fight. They also have Ray to get that early knock-up here. BLG feel like they have to make a move.
EDG going in for the teleport. It's a little bit slow, which means Ray's going to be able to follow. iBoy forced to flash already this early into the fight, and so is Ray. 3 flashes burned with almost no investment here from BLG, but EDG now looking for the re-engage. Not going to happen. The redemption is enough to scare them off. So 2 TPs, 1 for each side, and then 3 flashes on the side of EDG. Yeah, they lose the dragon, but I think that's a pretty decent trade, especially considering they're probably going to get the spot tower.
And I would say BLG definitely come out ahead here. They get the majority of the summoners from the bot side. No flashes between iBoy and Meiko. They can look for another pick just like this one. And BLG has been one of the better teams to use that teleport. After the teleport nerfs, a lot of teams just, you couldn't cancel. A lot of teams were very hesitant to use that and gain advantages on the map. Not BLG. They still play around that summoner beautifully.
Now BLG finally pick up the bottom lane tower, which will be a decent lead for them. They're going to bring it back, the gold lead, into their favor. And they do tie it up 1-to-1 towers. But I want to talk a little bit about this Evelynn, because we have not seen it do a whole heck of a lot. All it's done so far is secure objectives, and that's great and all. But I feel like there's so much more potential, especially in picks, team fights, to use the ultimate. Oh, no.
Well, talking about picks, here you have one.
Yeah, ADD can't ult away this time. He doesn't have it off cooldown. Still has the flash available. If he gets out of this, never mind.
Oh, boy, doesn't
He's not out of it. That flash was very unfortunate for him. He's going to try and chase down Ray.
Yeah,
actually doing a decent job, but not going to take him out in the end.
Unfortunate flash situation. Even if he did make it over the wall with Iceborne Gauntlet, he wasn't going to get away from that one. And here you were talking about Clearlove's potential as a pick. What does he actually do? Well, Evelynn's actually a very good scaling jungle. Like, the backline is not going to get tankier as time progresses, but Evelynn is going to do a lot more damage once she gets those items.
Whoa, but Clearlove in a lot of trouble here. Scout going to block it for him. In addition to the Devour, will keep him very safe. Jinjiao just going to keep pushing here into the top side of the map.
I think what you're going to see in one of these team fights is Evelynn is going to find her way into the backside. They're going to chain it up with Ornn. Someone's going to get knocked up, and they're going to instantly pop that person. It's going to happen in one of these fights, and I think BLG are put in a really tough situation because of that potential team fight setup.
Oh, looking for the pick here onto Scout. That's a lot of damage just from the ultimate.
Yeah.
That's actually insane. Scout has to flash away.
I
Jinjiao
don't believe he's going to get one last auto attack.
He's got the move speed there. Redemption.
Oh, yeah! What? That was ridiculous.
Hell yeah, ADD. I'm sorry for questioning your build ever, and I will never do so again. The
No
Redemption
armor,
first
no
Scion.
problem. Doesn't matter.
Redemption first Scion, ladies and gentlemen. Coming to a solo queue near you, I'm afraid.
Oh, boy. They should really tune the cost efficiency on that. I think it's a little bit too high.
Well, it's been tuned like 4 times, and I think we're still saying that. So it may be beyond help at this point, Clement. Now, EDG responding to this bot lane push, but Jinjiao has so much push potential in this Nico. They're going onto Meiko, pushing a lot of damage. Clearlove coming in. Pop Blossom preemptively by Jinjiao will stop Clearlove from going in entirely. There's the ultimate, but he has to use it to get to safety, so no damage really coming out from it.
And does tag Jinjiao with the execute, but really not enough yet. Only has a Sheen, so she even needs an auto attack for that to go off.
BLG forced to back off here. Kuro eating an EQ there from Scout, but will survive. Now, Kuro just going to walk away scot-free, pretty happy with himself. The BLG are going to back off. Fairly successful in their push in the bottom lane. They now have 3 towers, so they've taken out the entire outer ring except for the mid lane turret. They just pushed down 2 in the bottom. So the mid lane turret, probably their next port of call, but the Infernal Drake, 50 seconds, not far behind.
These are the type of fights that BLG want to take. They want to be in a sieging position, so when Clearlove comes in, it's actually very easy to predict which angle he's coming in at. In that previous team fight, you could see the front lines for BLG. They were already in position to intercept Clearlove, and he couldn't really do any of that damage that we were waiting for on this Evelyn pick. So that's the situations that they want to put themselves in. However, they do need good map control to actually do that. I think ADD, once again, is going to have to be that split pusher. You may say he might not win the 1v1, but it doesn't matter. As long as he can get those waves pushed in and go to another part of the map, he has what it takes.
Uh-oh, here comes the engage from Ray. 3-man knockup. That's so much damage onto the entirety of the team. They're able to take out Mini, but ADD coming in, not able to land the knockup himself, and now chunked down to half. Jinjiao gets engaged on by Clearlove, but the ultimate only going to chunk him down to half. The Redemption doing a lot to heal the members of BLG. Oh, Jinjiao!
Burns away!
Finally gets taken down by iBoy, and now ADD falls as well. This could be the Baron for EDG, but instead they're going to go for the Infernal Drake.
Clearlove scrapes away the last point of HP away from Jinjiao, and they make it a 3-for-0 fight in towards the mid lane. That was the collapse potential we were talking about. BLG, they didn't have their front line in ADD. He was trying to set up the siege situation. He was pushing in the bottom, and EDG choose to strike there. Let's watch that again. Ornn, great catch potential. We haven't seen the Ornn in a very long time. Really getting caught off guards from BLG's side. They find the first early kill onto the support, and then ADD drifts in without Kuro there. Kuro was forced away by Clearlove. Kuro did not join the fight, and that's just bad driving from ADD. Can I call it drunk driving from ADD? Goes into 4 people on EDG's side. No backup whatsoever. And unfortunately, Jinjiao also has to pay the price.
Now Ray has picked up his Frozen Fist. I can finally call it that without it being the wrong name, because it is the upgraded form. No other upgraded items here on EDG.
Why do they have to give it extra names?
I know.
They could just call it
Enhanced
Iceborne Gauntlet.
Infinity Edge to Molten Edge. I don't remember any of the rest of them.
It's not needed.
Unnecessary. Kuro not going to be able to find the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, but this is a dangerous position for BLG. Once again, maybe caught out here by the ultimate. Double ultimates onto Mini, but that's a huge chunk from the side. ADD comes in, not able to find the knockup, but Clearlove forced off onto the side. Scout as well being zoned off. Mini doing so much in this fight to make space for BLG's carries, and they're all going to make it out alive as a result.
Kuro has to be the hero of that fight. Just one Paddle Star was able to chunk down iBoy and Clearlove and take them both away from the incoming ADD. And that was a very close situation for EDG. You could see that they were 1 hit away from taking down the Alistar. They do force a reset from BLG, and the Ornn pick is working so well. This is, I talked about it in the drafting phase. I felt like the Ornn pick was a really smart decision to go for. It was that one pick that they were saying, you know what, we don't need this counter pick from Ray to make an impact in laning phase. We can use this pick and scout out the composition that BLG is going to be throwing at us, and we can use that pick for a team fight counter. Great idea from EDG.
And especially in the team fights, you're noticing the rest of the composition as well. You know, we talk about how Meiko needs space in that AD carry position, and she has that. The problem is the space created has cracks, and that's where Clearlove can get through. That's where Poke from Scout can get through. Poke from iBoy can get through, and that's creating problems for BLG. Their biggest damage threat is not able to fight.
If you look at the situation now, BLG is saying, you know what, we can't split push with the Scion anymore. It's too risky. They have a strong engage tool in the Ornn. ADD, you're going to have to come to us. And look at the side lane pressure. EDG has gotten off of that. Both their top side and their bottom side is pushing in. They're holding BLG here, and even if they don't get the engage, they're still going to get the objective gold. Look at BLG. They're pinging it out. They know that they've been lured into this trap. They're going to have to cede a lot of map control if they want to deal with the waves, and this is going to give EDG a very good opportunity to then control Baron.
They're pinging onto it as we speak, maybe setting up a bush gank, maybe just going to go for it all by themselves. It's all up to EDG at this point. And now BLG are going to have to find a way back into this game. They're not out of it yet. They're down a little bit in gold, mostly down in objectives. So they still have a chance in the fights. The problem is they've not been able to find one in their favor. ADD is a key for them to be able to do that, but so far, the only engage he's gotten is one where his DPS didn't really have a chance to enter.
And the scaling is also ticking, but wait a minute, Ornn's gonna go straight in.
There's the engage from Ray and forces out the ultimate of ADD. Redemption comes down, brings him back to health. Sleepy Trouble Bubble gonna land onto Meiko, which removes iBoy's safety, but no one can land anything onto him. And the shock blast going to land onto Kuro. ADD taken out. EDG now have a man advantage if they want to go for the Baron.
Yeah, really good dancing by iBoy right there. He tempted ADD to walk forward, thinking that maybe there was a chance. Oh man, Kuro was going to land something on the Ezreal. Arcane shifting forward. Maybe they could find something, but he just puts himself in a bad position. And EDG walk away with the towers.
BLG having a lot of trouble in these fights, getting their carries poked out by the combo of Scout and iBoy. There doesn't seem to be anything they can do to stop it at this point, so they need to find better angles. They need to find better trajectories into these fights, or I feel like the Baron is off the table.
EDG outranged the composition from BLG. They have backline access this time. BLG are finding it very difficult to actually push forward onto the map. They need so many control wards. They need to cover so many potential angles, and what that does is it really allows EDG to run them against walls. We see EDG do this so frequently in team fights, is that they just try to force your composition into a wedge, break your team into two parts, and then do defeat by detail. So BLG, they're going to find it very difficult to actually venture out across the river onto the map. I think what they're thinking about right now is probably just scaling up and waiting to throw all of their punches in a single Baron fight.
Well, it's not going to be hard for them, especially if they pick up this 4th dragon of the game, because this is just so easy for them at this point. Like you said, they can just poke out the fights, and now if anyone tries to engage on them and force a longer fight, the Ocean Drake will sustain them back up. If BLG had been able to get that Ocean Drake, that'd be really good for them, but instead, they're just losing objective after objective.
This is how to counter a Neeko composition 101 from EDG. You outrange her, you tackle her from multiple angles, you have a backline engage that cannot be interrupted. It's just so many abilities that force Neeko to use Shapeshifter earlier on, and that's a 16-second cooldown. So they're really thinking about how to take Jinjiao out of the fights. It's a really great composition that EDG is running here, and I really enjoy what Hart has brought us today.
If you're Jinjiao in this position, what do you do to counter this? You yourself, sure, can't necessarily zone off the poke, can't necessarily stop yourself from getting hit entirely. But how do you navigate these fights?
It's really difficult, but what I think BLG has the advantage and still has the advantage, in later phases of the game, they will have a tankier front line. And what ADD needs to do is he needs to be proactive with his engage. If he runs into the Ornn, you can actually take the Ornn down quite easily. He's not as tanky as he used to be.
You're going to spot out.
Alistar not spotted.
Oh, Mini. Be careful, bud. He knows there's not a ward in that bush at the very least. He doesn't know about the banana brush anymore. Another engage down mid lane, and this one's going to land onto Jinjiao. The poke not going to land, however. Jinjiao so low, Redemption saves him. And now
here comes Alistar.
ADD going in, looking for the knockup, not able to find it, but so much damage onto the front line. It doesn't look like they even need Jinjiao to win a fight at this point, and that's how they're initiating. Double Redemption going to put in a lot of healing despite the reduction. The Sleepy Trouble Bubble lands onto Clearlove, and the teleport is coming in from Jinjiao. They want to keep this fight going. BLG have the opportunity. Jinjiao still has the AoE damage.
Clearlove caught again, second Sleepy Trouble.
Clearlove, there he goes. BLG keeping it going. If they keep this fight, they're going to win back the lead they've lost. They'll be able to take down this tower. They're not done yet. Kuro still looking for an angle, but he will finally back off. Tries to flash over the wall, but not going to land that one.
And Mini hiding behind enemy lines for 1 minute straight, finally finds the key pick he was looking for. He pins iBoy against one of the walls, straight into the decimating smash from ADD, and they take the AD carry down. That was a fight where EDG was supposed to win hands down. It was supposed to win easily. Let's watch right here. Ray doesn't get the headbutt onto terrain, so no knockup followed, no extra damage, and that means even though it's an AD carry trade earlier on, Neeko does survive the fight and can teleport later on. For the back portion of the fight, Kuro was your absolute hero. Look at these Sleepy Trouble Bubbles he's finding onto Clearlove. Flashes in just to get it there and force EDG to stay in position. They get the AD carry back with the teleport that Jinjiao has been running, and Meiko's like, you know what, buddy? This one I just can't tank for you. I'm sorry, Clearlove.
Now, Clement, while you were explaining the team fight, I was doing something maybe a little irresponsible. I was counting how long it took because this was reminiscent of like a Season 3 duration team fight. Just that part, remember that wasn't all of it because they still pushed down the tower, was 35 seconds. These teams are playing these team fights so delayed at this point. Now that the poke doesn't land, we see the strength of BLG. When you're able to lose your AD carry to poke, not dead though, he's able to back, fully heal, teleport back into the fight, and then contribute
looking for the engage.
It's crazy. EDG, he gets the knockup onto all of EDG, but two, and then Mini goes in with the follow-up engage. BLG just showing a masterclass in team fighting at the moment. Ray has to get out of there, taking so much damage. The knockup will not land, but it doesn't matter. All but iBoy have been taken down in terms of the carry. Scout still up as well. If he gets the poke off the side, he might get the kill, but no. BLG have won the fight, 4 kills, and now they're going to get the Baron.
BLG shows you why Vision is a team's best friend. They stopped the Abyssal Voyage, effectively a 4-man knockup, changed into a 4-man undertow coming in from Meteor, and then another 3-man knockup on the side of Mini. This was crowd-controlled city. This was a bounce house for BLG, and they collapsed EDG's entire composition. So well played so many times this series that we've seen BLG use Vision to their advantage.
This is all we needed to see. This is all we needed for them to start coming back in this game. This is all we needed for them to start winning again. Now they can't get poked out. Look at ADD. He was able to finish his Warmogs finally. So when they have those delayed team fights, he will stay beefy. He will stay that massive tank, and I suspect he's also going to go for the locket once again for safety for his team. With the double redemption as well, it doesn't matter how much poke you can put out. Well, if Kuro's able to pick up a redemption. It still doesn't matter with the one, because you can put out a ton of poke, but if you have a shield and a heal to cover it up at the end, that poke has been negated. And EDG, they're starting to look at a timer for how long they can pull off these team fights.
Let's be honest though, EDG, they still have 2 Infernal Drakes and they have an Ornn on their team. I don't think scaling is as much of an issue for them anymore in terms of this composition. What is, however, is map control. Because BLG has proven again and again, if you give them anything,
ADD, give him an inch and he'll take a mile. The engage coming in, a split fight. Mini takes the engage as well. Jinjiao, Clearlove finally gets a pick, and now BLG might lose all of their members with Baron. The Ragnarok from Meteor will hopefully get him out alive. ADD not as lucky. Kuro getting chased down. Redemption not going to save him. Sion not able to do as much. Meteor needs to get the slow onto Scout. The slow comes in from Meiko, and BLG get ace the triple kill from Scout.
I think this might just be the game. The entire team is gone. It's going to be 40 seconds for some of these players to come back, and EDG are barreling down the mid lane. That was a bridge too far for ADD. He went in, he did not have a flash. He sectioned off EDG correctly, yes, but Clearlove with a dagger in the back. Takes out Nico, takes out Jinjiao, not even the Pop Blossom used, and that was the Evelyn that we were waiting for the entire game.
EDG, they bide their time and finally win the game off one final team fight, tying up the score 1-1.
That was so sick to watch, and I really want to see the replay of that fight happening once more. A really clever setup from BLG. They were waiting on the sidelines. They were waiting for EDG to try to check the brushes around the Drake. But when they did start the engine, when they did drive forward, they really ran themselves into a brick wall. ADD was so far ahead of the composition. He sectioned off the team, but it wasn't enough for the follow-up of BLG to really find purchase. And on the flip side, Clearlove goes in with the Evelyn. Clearlove has been known for this pick for a long time. He's been very good on it in solo queue, and we finally get to see it on the main stage.
I was questioning what he was going to be able to do. I was questioning what he was doing for most of the game because it didn't really seem like he was getting a whole lot done. But in that last team fight, you show what exactly a good Evelyn can do. He went around to the flank, found Jinjiao, solo 100-0'd him, and that alone just won the fight for them because at that point, there was no longer any sustained damage on the side of BLG.
That happened so fast that there was no Pop Blossom used by Jinjiao at all. He was instantly dead. And that's all the separation EDG really needed for that fight. That's all they really needed. It's masterful composition. I think it now is up to BLG to change their game strategy. You can play front-to-back team fight, but EDG know the ways to counter it. They have the answers. They're going to outrange you. They're going to have this sudden engage coming in from Ornn. They're going to have the backline assassination threat from Clearlove. You cannot run the same things.
Well, the problem then, what do you run? Because I feel like the composition actually kind of worked in the later stages of the game. Because, yeah, early on it was terrible. Admittedly, Ray was getting engage after engage and was able to shut off the team. Jinjiao was getting picked off. There were tons of knockups. ADD was too squishy to get any sort of tanking done. Couldn't block the poke, and the poke was taking out Kuro. It was taking out Jinjiao. There was nothing they could do. But once it got to the mid and late stages of the... I mean, we saw that crazy fight that ADD initiated, and BLG just won, took it straight to Baron. If it hadn't been for that follow-up engage, I feel like BLG would have been fine. Is that more indicative of EDG's mistakes leading up to that point that allowed that Baron fight to happen, or did they actually figure out BLG?
Oh, don't get me wrong. I feel like BLG played the game really, really well. A lot of their advantages came from the vision control that they had earlier on in the laning phase and whatnot, but I still don't think this composition matches well into what EDG has already shown. This is a very well prepared strategy from EDG. Kudos to Heart, kudos to Clearlove for finally showing his cards and bringing out the Evelyn that we've been waiting since Season 5 to really see a glimpse of. But I think you need to have a little bit more early game say in the game so far. I think if you look at EDG's drafting phase, they've been taking away the big difference makers from Meteor. They've been taking away the Rek'Sai, which is his strongest blue side ganking option, great into the bot lane, and they've also been taking away Nocturne. So a lot of the playmaking potential is no longer there on BLG's side, and if you think about the way that this game progressed, it was pretty quiet from BLG's side. They really didn't find any early action, and EDG ran the show for the majority of the game. So I think if they want to change something, they need to have some plays that they can orchestrate in the early games that are pretty high percentage, like the Nocturne or the Rek'Sai. You know, you go in, you're going in, stuff like that.
And that's what we're going to be looking for, the early proactivity from BLG, or will EDG make their Cinderella story comeback in game number 3? We'll be finding out in a few minutes.